from India and from the beautiful city of Bangalore. Bangalore is famous for its weather. Uh, it has a California kind of a weather all year round. It doesn't have the hot Indian summer. And again, wish you all holy Ramadan Kareem in the holy month of Ramadan. The one thing we miss this time round in Bangalore is usually during the Ramadan session, the evenings we all go out, irrespective of whichever faith or religion it is, we go out and have join the party on the streets, the iftar party on the streets. Now that is not happening this year. Uh, so with that, let me just share my screen and
Yeah.
yeah. So you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it's clear.
So welcome to the session on digitized SOP management system uh, in collaboration with JAIP. I would again like to thank Dr. Khalid and Dr. Bashar for this session. A brief introduction. I have not introduced JAIP because you know them. We are a company. We are operating since 1996. We are in Bangalore in India and a place called Fredonia in New York State, not near New York City. It's more towards Buffalo, New York. And we have been implementing global projects. We have implemented in US is still our biggest but Germany, France, Norway, UK, and even Bangladesh, we have implemented projects. Uh, our specialty comes from our understanding of US FDA, specifically 21 CFR Part 11, and we have had the opportunity of implementing 21 CFR Part 11 and validating 21 CFR Part 11 for some of the big names in the pharmaceutical sector like Schering Plough. This project was in Indonesia for Schering Plough. Johnson and Johnson. Dr. Reddy's is one of a big Indian company, and some others as well. My own specialization is actually business process. So I've been also teaching business process. I co-authored India's first book on ERP software, where my part was largely the business process engineering, which I learned from Germany. We use a German technology and a German way to do that. And that company, in turn, they are very big on 21 CFR Part 11, the German company. So with this, we proceed to what is in store for today. Okay, let me start.
Mr. Ashish, I guess there is something covering part of the screen. Is it from your side?
It is from
Yeah.
my side.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
Okay. Right. So let me start with the situation we are in. That we are going through a pandemic, and hopefully, with God's grace, we all will come through from it. But what are the permanent effects of this pandemic that is going to remain, and that I'm already seeing from various sources to the QA management? So,
Yeah. Hello?
okay,
Yeah.
yes, comes the screen. Uh,
Yeah.
the two things that are coming out from this pandemic that we are going through is more and more organizations, and specifically QA management, they are going to think about how we can have more distributed work and remote workforce. And with it, the problem is how can we manage remotely? Okay, so how SOP management can be done remotely. I think there is a delay in the
screen. Yes.
hello.
Yeah. There is delay. Yeah.
There's a delay happening in the yeah.
Yeah.
So how digitized SOP process helps in enabling work distribution. So that is one of the major advantages of a digital process is that work jobs can be distributed across departments, can be distributed across locations, can be distributed even across countries. But with the distribution comes the added challenge of how to manage it. So we are talking of an SOP management system where you can track progress and very importantly get timely alerts. Okay? So let's say this is you are a QA and I have taken the three basic SOP processes where the author writes the SOP, the reviewer reviews it, it can go back and forth, and then it comes to the approver, approves it. You as QA being the kind of the proprietor of the SOPs in your organization, uh, you can distribute you can distribute work specifically to authors, reviewers, and approvers and trainers as well. I will come to the training in a short while. So from a single place, you can distribute work and importantly, you would be able to track the progress, what is happening out of this distribution because the workflow is built in into the system so that once you assign authors, reviewers, and approvers, the author, reviewer, and approvers, they all know that this job has been assigned. For instance, the authors would know who are the reviewers, etc. So would the reviewers would know. Okay. So, and you from a centralized place can track everything that is happening and at which stage the progress is so far, either a new SOP or a revision of an existing SOP is happening. This is an actual screen, a software screen that you see. So this is the dashboard that you have at your end. And you can see the dashboard you have on the top left is the alert. If there is any major alert is there in time of alert in the sense of there are delays happening or typically all kinds of delays come at alerts where it needs your urgent intervention. They come in. User management, where you are in complete control over the user community of the SOP. And when I say user community, you have active user communities, like for instance, you have people who are authors, who are reviewers, who are approvers, trainers. You have a host of user community who are actually users of a particular SOP. who have to be trained and who are working on that SOP.
Yeah.
So you need to have complete control over the user community. Request for new SOP or revision, it can come from any source. Okay.
Yeah.
Typically, revision is automated whenever an SOP is coming to, let's say, near to an expiry date, which the alert is set by you while the setup is done. Let's say, for instance, it's 3 months or 6 months or whatever. So you get the automated alert. At the same time, there would be requests for revision of SOP, either because certain processes have changed or certain parts have been changed. So these are out of turn revision requests which come, so which also follows through the same software. Okay? When you have meetings, I'll come to the meeting a bit later. On the SOP in process is what you would be able to see. It gives you the console to what's happening to the SOPs under process, under review process, or under new SOP writing process. USOP, training, reports, print control. I will talk about print control a bit more elaborately. And very importantly, change control and audit trail. At your desk, if you have to do a task is there for you. You will find that task in the pending task bar with the orange, with number of tasks as well. So you know today you have 6 tasks at your table. These tasks can be, let's say, for instance, you are an approver of an SOP. So that comes as a task to you. Okay? So whatever is the task, that task to you, and notifications, important notifications that come through a separate notification bar. So it's a very comprehensive, at the same time, very succinct and simple way of having complete control over your SOP processes. That's what is happening.
Yeah.
Now, the GMP workflow for SOP is already automated in the system. So either a review of an existing SOP comes out of turn through somebody can log in into the system and ask for the SOP review for certain particular purpose, giving the reason that this SOP needs review for this, or automatically the system throws up the review because the time has come. If your time window is, let's say, 3 months, so before 3 months of expiry, you get a review notification that you need to start the review process as a QA person, review process, or there is a requirement for a new SOP. Sitting at your console, you can assign authors, reviewers, approvers, as well as trainers and even trainees, either now or at a later date. Okay. The author upload of the SOP is there. The author only uploads the content of the SOP because the software system takes care of the header and the footer, or in some companies, the first page of the SOP. Okay, the system completely takes care of that because the system knows who's the author, who are the reviewers, who's the approver or approvers. Okay, etc., etc. Review, approve, training completion. This entire workflow is automated. Okay, so once the author, reviewer, approver, trainer are assigned, the workflow automatically takes its own course. The trainer gets the notification, has to get this training to this, and the trainer has to do the training and give the training completion certificate. Uh, now, uh, the advantage of the digitized SOP is remote control and management. So your QA may be anywhere, and you can actually have complete control over n number of facilities across wherever they are. Okay? It can be a factory. Within factory, you have the QA QC of the factory. It can be a lab. It can be R&D. It can be anything. So it gives you complete control over the management of SOP. Okay? I will come to the common management challenges that come. One, as I said, is has the review process started on time? Okay, and at what stage is the process in, and is there a delay at some stage? So, at any point of time, let's say if you have anywhere between 300 to 700 to 1200 SOPs, you would have somewhere around 15 to 30 to 35 SOPs already under process at any point of time. Okay? So from a single console, you basically can see that the review process has started on time because the software itself gives you the nudge to start the review process. If you don't start the review process, then it comes as an alert that you need to start the review process. Okay? That is why the alert is given. One is the notification that you need to start. One is the alert saying, hey, you haven't started yet. Okay? So automated notification for review. At what stage you can see for each of these SOPs. Let's say, for instance, at any point of time, there are 30 SOPs in the process. So you see all the 30 in which stage they are in. Okay? And if there is a delay at some stage, you get an early alert. And this is only possible through digitization because it can keep track of the process of what is happening between the authors and the reviewers and the provers and the trainers. Okay? The other common regulatory compliance challenges, one is the dependency relationship. The dependency relationship here means that when you are reviewing a particular SOP, this SOP depended on certain criteria and logic and process of some other SOP, and this SOP in turn affects certain other SOPs. So when you are revising a particular SOP, you may inadvertently affect other SOPs. So in a digitized system, the dependency relationship is clearly defined and stated. So whenever a particular SOP comes for review, revision, the people who are doing it, they know which are the peripheral SOPs it needs to take into consideration while doing this revision. Okay. The other is version control, whether training is completed or not, old printed versions available. Now, in a digitized process, you have the relationship tracker. So at every point, anybody who is tweaking with an SOP would know which other peripheral SOPs it is affecting. Okay. The version control is completely automated, so you can just close your eyes. The software does the entire version control. Whenever a new version comes up, the old version automatically goes to the archive. So you don't have to do actually anything. Yes. Uh, Training module with training alerts. We have seen in the practical situation that SOP, the effective date is coming up, but the training has not been completed. Okay. That is where the alerts help you to do. Both tracking and alert help you to do uh, take care of the situation. So you have training alert and old printed version floating around, uh, and we have a print controller. I will talk a bit in detail about the print controller. Uh, Audit made easy. As I said, I will talk about the printed controller. Uh, this is one of the major uh, common negative observations that happens in an audit is old printed version of SOP found on the shop floor. Okay. Uh, Now, this can be eliminated completely by a digitized process. This kind of a negative observation. Okay. That is why it comes under audit made easy. Okay. We have a print controller and it ensures only current version of printed SOPs. Now, how does it do that? I'll go into a bit depth. Uh, this is actually a software screen for print requests. Primarily, what happens that all print is disabled. You can look up an SOP, but you can't print the SOP from the screen. So all print is disabled. Print is completely channeled through a process of asking for a printer, that is a print request, and through a print controller. So again, here the QA has absolute control over the print that can have happen. I will go a bit back. Let me just go a bit back and show you the screen over here. Now you can actually sit in one place and the software gives you the control and you can actually control the print of any of the facilities, or you can delegate the facility to the factory as well, but the software gives you the capability to have complete control over printing activities that is happening.
Mr. Ashish,
Yes.
we have a comment from Mr. Imad
Yeah.
Shurman. He's talking about a disadvantage of the time and efforts to transfer the paper SOPs
Mhm.
to the new system. What's your opinion?
Okay. Typically, when we start work with a company, uh, the it takes about 1 to 2 months for implementation. Within that 1 to 2 months, all we require is first is your list of current SOPs, okay,
Okay.
and if you have the current SOPs in PDF format, okay, So on one particular day, when it starts, all your paper SOPs are completely digitized and given to you. And you start with the complete digital SOP from day one of implementation.
Okay.
So that is the reason we take about 1 to 2 months to implement the process. The major time goes in listing down the SOPs because many of the companies have large number of SOPs, large serial numbers, and when you digitize it, if there are internal discrepancies, for instance, by mistake, two SOPs have the same serial number or those come up. I have seen those come up. Yeah, when you try to digitize this, then you have to rectify those things and then set it up. So yes, we do that in one shot for the implementation.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
till now, is there any country made this system as a digital SOP mandatory, or it's till now not?
Uh, Digital SOP is not mandatory. Even in our software, we have kept provision for printed SOP.
Okay.
Okay, but we have, that is why I've said we have kept provision for printed SOP. I'll just, um, that is why we have made a very good system to ensure that old SOPs do not float around. Okay, so first of all, the printing of SOP is controlled completely. So not everybody can take a printout of an SOP. Just because you can see it on the screen, you can't take a printout. Okay, one has to ask for printout. Okay,
Okay.
now these are the automatic controls of the print control. So the first is the SOP is unprintable except through print control. At the print control, you are asking whether it's a controlled copy or an uncontrolled copy. Then you are giving the name of the recipients for whom this SOP is going to be printed, and the for each of the printed copies have the name of that particular recipient. For instance, if there are two copies of the SOP is being printed, one for me and one for Dr. Khaled, one copy will have my name print for this printed copy is for me, this Ashish Datta. The other copy will have printed for Dr. Khaled. So even from the shop floor, in some cases, they don't give the name of the person, they give the role.
Okay.
Okay. For instance, machine operator
السلام
for this
عليكم.
particular machine. Yeah. So you get that name. And that is one of the reasons why when you are printing the next version, the first thing the print control asks you to retrieve the old version. But it does something more than that. It gives you the list of the old versions with whom that old versions are there. Okay.
Okay.
So you have a list of to whom the printed copy of the old versions there. You go collect those out and destroy it, and the print controller asks you, have you shredded it or have you destroyed it? Only in some cases, the management copy, and in all cases, the archival copy, and in some cases, in some companies, the management copy is retained, all other need to be destroyed. The software, I say the software only cannot take a SOP and shred it. The software can do everything else. Okay?
Yeah.
But it gets a commitment, uh, from the person who says, yes, I have shaded it. So that is how we try to control this. It's a very difficult situation because if you go to US FDA site and you see that expired SOP found, you will see the plethora of cases where that is there. One of the most common cases that is there. So whenever you are going for a printed copy, the controller asks, I don't know if you can see the screen because it's small. Write in controlled copy, uncontrolled copy, purpose of the copy, name of the recipients from the copy, etc., and then this is printed. So this is how the print control happens. It is impossible to do print control without a digitized system. And even ordinary document management system does not give you this kind of a print control that is required for GMP and FDA norms. Yeah. Uh, the other common negative observation is training and retraining not happen. Uh, so this is another thing which can be eliminated by using a digital system. So automated training assignments, alert on training mismatch before effective date of the SOP, and very easy SOP personal training conciliation, because you would know how things happen with auditor. If an auditor comes, the auditor suddenly goes to one person doing something on the shop floor and says, what are you doing? Okay. And the person says, I'm doing this. I am filling liquid. So where is your SOP? So he pulls a drawer and takes up, shows the SOP. That was the first level check that the SOP is expired or not expired. That is the first one level where we eliminate through digitization a negative observation. Okay. Then says, okay, you have done this. When were you trained? So bring the training register. Now here the training register is actually part of the system. Okay. So you go directly to the training register and see that this person has been trained and retrained, because again you get alerts if the training has not happened. So you eliminate this problem by using a digitized SOP system. This is a screen for pending training list. So the QA can actually see which are the trainings which are pending, who are the trainers who have been assigned, who are the trainees, etc. We can also work on automated training in some cases where participants can come to the system and do the training. Yeah, we are working on that training as well. Okay. This is something which I don't know to what extent it happens in your geographical area. It certainly happens in US because US FDA has got many of the wherever US FDA goes, especially outside USA. The culture is we don't keep minutes of the meeting. Now, the GMP process states that to have an SOP, you need some people to decide that yes, you need this SOP. Okay. So if 5 people have come together and decided that you need this SOP, there must be a minute of that meeting. In many organizations, the minute of the meeting is not there. It's basically they just assign SOP to authors and reviewers. But FDA can go back. This is an auditable document, the minutes of the meeting. So we have created an automated system where in the course of your assigning, the uh, author, reviewer, and approver, you actually create the minutes of the meeting. There are cases in US FDA where they have gone and they have said, I want to see why this SOP was created. So why this SOP is needed is supposed to be there in the minutes of the meeting. So they went and saw the minutes of the meeting. The minutes of the meeting has a register of the participants. So they saw the list of the participants. Okay, there are 7 participants. The meeting happened on this day, 15th of August last year. Okay, 2019. Show me your attendance register. Okay, now they go to the attendance register. They find out of the 7 people who attended, 6 were there present. 1 was not present on that day. So that is a negative observation that you try to say you were there, but you were actually not there. Okay. So now what has happened is many of these meetings happen like we are having, okay, online. So we have made provisions for online meeting as well and physical and online participants of the meeting. So we have taken care of all these things so that it eliminates this particular negative observation as well. And this is actually a good practice to have minutes of the meeting uh, of all the SOPs. Uh, because the SOP gives what you are doing, how you are doing. Minutes of the meeting gives the answer why this SOP. Okay. Error in version control, which I have stated, it's completely eliminated because the version control is automatic. Uh, there are if there are in some cases author reviewer approver conflict, for instance, uh, you can't have the author and the reviewer the same person as per the guideline. Okay, even if mistakenly, okay, in a non-digitized physical SOP that is there, it would be impossible to have this in a digital SOP format because the system will immediately give a signal and say, sorry, there's a conflict. You can't have the author reviewer as the same people. There are flexibilities about this in I have seen in some systems. For instance, we did a project for a small company in the UK, a very small company, and they stated in their, you have a SOP of SOPs where you declare the management policy of SOPs, where they had stated that because we are a very small organization, uh, the author and the reviewer will be different, but the approver can be either the author or the reviewer. Okay. So, but principally, in most other cases, the author, reviewer, and approver are different people. So you can configure the system accordingly. But once you configure it, the system does not allow you to actually have this conflict. And especially author, reviewer, same person is a conflict. Okay. Then you have change control and audit trail. So all changes, I'm not talking of changes in the SOP. Changes in the SOP happen through the review process. Okay. These are, let's say, for instance, you have initiated an SOP with a particular author, with a particular reviewer, and suddenly some other author have to take its place. So any of these things you go through a changed process, or you want to change any other matter factor of an SOP, you go through the change control process, and it takes the the classical change control aspect of GMP, where it asks you uh, why this change, who is doing this change, who is approving this change, and when the change is happening. And in the audit trail, both the previous data and the new data come up. As FDA auditors have been saying all the while, changing data is not a crime, hiding change is a crime. So you can change data if you have a valid and good reason to change. Go through the change control process, change the data, let it come up in the audit trail. That's absolutely fine. Okay. They don't usually bother. The one question, Dr. Khalid, that had come up, that any country, are they making it mandatory for digital SOP? This is one thing, it is coming up very strongly from US FDA and also from the UK, this MHRA, that they are more and more getting suspicious of non-digital processes. Okay. And they are preferring digital processes because digital processes can be audited more fairly and openly. That is one thing that is happening. So they are more hard on non-digital processes, especially QA QC processes. Okay.
Mr. Rashis, uh, there are some comments from an attendee, so I'll let him to talk. Mr. Imad? Mr. Imad, are you with us? Hello? Okay. He is talking about losing the data if there is if a problem happen, and about the validation of the system, and when he can join or speak, he can add for this, but he is talking about the security of the data and the protection of the data. If
Okay.
the software damaged, so as where the SOPs or where the data will be, and about the system validation.
Okay. Let me take the validation first. Any software that you use that is connected with production quality, any software that you use has to go through the validation process. So our SOP system, when we give our SOP system, we give it with complete validation documentation, and at the handing over process, we have what you call the performance qualification validation along with the documentation. So we send you the documentation, we sit with you, okay? We don't have to sit with you side by side, we can sit with you like this, and we take you through the entire software, through the validation process, okay? So that for any auditor who comes, you have the validation document, you have the validation protocols, and you can take them through the validation process yourself, because the entire purpose of validation is basically that when you implement the software, it must be validated as per the GMP norms. Number two, if the auditor comes, you should be able to show the auditor, uh, that this is how it is being validated. You can actually validate it in front of the auditor. Because
Okay.
the first thing the auditor comes and asks is the validation documentation. So this is part of our deliverable, the entire documentation. Okay, I saw one.
Yeah, one
Uh,
question from Safa Smadi from GFDA. How we can control the printed copy?
okay, how we can control? Can I get back to
Yeah.
that, because I've gone through the screen, but before getting back to that, there was the other question: is how safe is the data? Now, one is the data security. And the data security has aspects like people should not be able to go and change the data. How do you know that? And two is, if something happens to the server, something happens to the database, how do you retrieve the data? Okay.
By the
So
way,
this is
just before we move, is the data are saved on local servers or on virtual servers like a cloud or?
we have situations where uh, the company server the data is served on. Okay, the company says this is my server, and this is where you need the data. Okay, we have cases where it is there in the virtual server as well. Yeah. My next screen is actually on that data part. You see the screen. This screen is oh no, this is the date of the meeting. This is the SOP, the change control part. What are the changes? You can see the changes. Uh, this screen is data integrity screen. Now this is actually a log of unauthorized attempts. The screen that you see is a log of unauthorized attempts. So even what you call a database engineer would not be able to go and change the data, because even if a database engineer tries to log in to the database, it will flag as unauthorized attempt. Okay, it will also show unauthorized attempt has come through whose login and what is the A. Okay, and and the data are all encrypted, because even if somebody can see the data, somebody cannot make out what the data is about, because all the fields and the markers, they are all encrypted. So that is how the data integrity is being maintained. Okay. So does that
We have also a question about the validation. How can the QA himself validate the system?
okay, good question. When we hand over the software to the QA, before that we send a document which is called the validation documentation. Okay, the validation documentation uh, takes each and every part of the software. Okay, and it uh, gives the test protocol that go over here, do this. This is the test protocol. Okay, which the user can do it. The test protocol is something the user can do. Let's say, for instance, I'll give you a very simple basic A. Okay, uh, let's say your documentation says that after 3 failed attempts, okay, uh, attempt from that particular system will be blocked and can only be released by the administrator of the system. Okay. Now, there's a test protocol to test it. So you test it and find out how it is behaving. Okay. So each and every step has been given as a test protocol. Okay. And the test, so we take because this validation is a very long exercise when we hand over. Okay. Because we take bit by bit and do all the validation tests. And it's not we do it, we make the user do it. The user means the client, means the QA person do it, validation, because the QA person has to do it when the auditor comes.
Okay. Also, we have a question from Muhammad Nader. We can integrate the system with other systems in the company, like ERP, or even if we want to integrate it with the marketing programs or else.
We can integrate it. We have to, let's say, for instance, we typically, one integration always comes is the user community. The user data is there in some system. Okay. You have a payroll system, or you have this system where most of the user data is there. Okay. So can you integrate that with this for this specific purpose? The answer is yes. Can you send data from here to any particular software? The answer is yes. But then integration in any GMP case is very, very specific. The purpose is very, very specific. Can I go to the print control part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So here I am. This is how the print control works. That there is all printing is disabled. Printing of SOP is disabled, first of all. Who wants a printout of an SOP has to go to the system, fill up a form, and ask for the print of particular SOP, giving the reason why. It comes to the QA to either accept it or reject it. The QA accepts the print. It goes to the print controller. Print controller is nothing but a person. It may be the same QA who is been given the access to do the print control work. Okay. The print controller at the printing level or before the printing level, you are stating, let's say, for instance, here, whether it's a controlled copy or an uncontrolled copy. If it is a controlled copy, how many copies are required? You say 5 copies are required. Now you have to give the recipients of these 5 copies, okay, who the 5 copies are there for, okay, and then only they do the printing. So the printing is controlled, and the QA knows what print set copy of SOP is with whom. Number one. Number two is, whenever a new version comes up, this is the most important part. Whenever a new version comes up, the system tells you to retrieve the old version, and the system says there are 15 copies of this old version with this IDs or identities. Okay. And the system then asks, have you retrieved the old versions and destroyed the old versions? Let's say, for instance, you got uh, 14, you didn't get one is lost. Okay. You have to tell the system that one I could not find is lost. Okay. So the system takes it that you have destroyed 14 and genuinely one could not be found. Okay. But hereafter, you have an absolute grip on the printed copy that is floating around. On that is how you uh, control. You eliminate this problem of old copies floating around. And in a system, for instance, you can, yeah, yeah, you can control the printing of any of these or all of these facilities from a single point. That is how print control is being managed. Yeah. Any other question?
No, you can continue.
Hello? Okay, so we
Yeah,
come more
you
or
can
less
proceed. Yeah.
to the end of yeah. So this is actually a data integrity screen where this is a log of people trying to get into the system, get into the database, login attempts, and not being able to do that because it has got those alerts. These come as alerts. Unauthorized attempts have been made. Okay? So for the digital SOP system, there are primarily four questions you need to ask. Is it going to help in your regulatory compliance? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. Will it give better control over even remote SOP processes? Very much so, because remote SOP processes is very difficult to control without a digital process. Uh, how can it eliminate non-compliance? It can eliminate very specific non-compliances like old printed copies, like author reviewer mismatch, like training mismatch, like version control, etc., etc. These can be completely eliminated. And will facing audit be easier? Overwhelmingly so, yes, because auditors over the globe more and more are in for digitized processes because digitized processes are more transparent, are more reliable processes. Okay? So with this, is a complete in one flow of the SOP management system. And I would like to thank you all for being through this system and raising your questions. If there are further questions, let me know. I can go back to the screen and uh, discuss this further.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish. So, if anyone have a question, he can unmute and talk.
There is a question come up, how much does it cost? Let me come quickly to
No.
how much does, there was a question which flashed up on the screen, how much does it, the cost depends on the number of facilities, the number of SOPs, the number of user community, and I think Dr. Khaled will be in a position to say once. We actually have a system of collecting your requirement and then we have a very structured system. of that. So it's very clearly structured how the cost will come up.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I can tell you, it is, but then I can tell you one thing. Uh, uh, a couple of months, last year, I went to a company, somebody took me to a company in India. It's a fairly well-known company, and they said they are looking for SOP management system. And I went and I knew they use SAP for their ERP, and I found they use document management module of SAP called SAP DMS. So I said, if you have SAP DMS, why have you called me? He said, SAP DMS is so difficult, we couldn't configure SAP DMS and run it. Okay. I said, ask your implementer to do it. Somebody has implemented it and you have paid him for doing it. He said, yes, they have implemented the entire SAP and gone. They are going to charge me a huge amount if I ask them to come and do this DMS now. So, in terms of GMP compliance and USFDA compliance, I can guarantee you 100% compliance to it, and at a much, much, much lesser cost than either SAP or Documentum. These are the two major document management systems that are there in the market today. Yeah, they are both very expensive, and they are both very complicated to use. Any further question?
What about security? Tell anyone participant. What about the security of the SOPs? You know, a software containing all the private SOP of a company or of a lab or of so what type of security we have? Is it easy for anyone to hack and steal my private documents?
Okay. The honest answer is it is possible to steal everything in the world. Okay. The more pragmatic answer is how costly do you make to steal it? Okay. That is the pragmatic answer. And in terms of the servers that we use, if you are taking the online server based from us, okay, that is the level of encryptions, because we take the server only where the level of encryption is of the highest order, and multiple levels of encryption is there, that is there, and our own software's internal control of raising alarms of infiltration. Okay, so these are the things where we manage the thing. If somebody wants not to have it in the cloud, but in their own server, that is also another option. We have companies who say, I don't want my SOPs on a cloud server. I want SOPs on my server. Okay, absolutely fine. It can work over there. Where you have control over the server, the only thing is, I don't know whether that server is more secure than the cloud server.
Okay.
Today, we have a false sense of security. You know, something we have in our own room, we think it is more secure, but digitally it is not, perhaps.
Okay.
Because the cloud server, there are security people who have worked on the cloud server to make it more secure.
Yeah. And what about the data integrity? You know, most of the authorities currently are mandatory looking for data integrity, especially in our pharma sector, especially on the PE or clinical trials to avoid any interruption or any messing with the data. So can we consider this software a part of such data integrity?
Yes. In fact, we have the real, our A of data integrity comes with our ERP software, much less with SOP, because SOP does not have those running critical data. Okay. If, for instance, I am making for you, any one of you, a QC system, okay, where like a LIMS system, lab info system, where data integrity is very important, or for instance, our own ERP system where we have where data integrity is there. We use the same data integrity in the SOP, in spite of the fact that SOP has less A of data integrity on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and data integrity comes through mainly the change control process and audit trail. So all data changes have to go to change control process, and this is where you show in your validation documentation that you cannot change data otherwise
Okay.
in the system. Yeah.
We have a question about the authority. Whom are authorized to read the system? According to the model, to the general model of the system, are they the managers, the supervisors, or the quality team?
It comes in the user management part. Top left, second left, on top, user management. I haven't gone into the detail of the user management. User management has been made very flexible so that you can actually do your own rights assignment. People who have rights over certain things, right to view only, right to edit, right to comment, right to this. These are all right-based accesses. And the entire right-based access, you have control. So you can actually you configure the access control completely at your end. Very importantly, one important thing from GMP audit point of view, okay, whenever you change, and this is where most softwares do not have that, whenever you change the right of a person, okay, the history of his or her right remains remains in the software, because when the auditor comes, the auditor says, okay, somebody has approved this thing, and they ask, was this person authorized to do this job at that point of time? Somebody has done something on 16th of January 2018, okay, uh, approved something. So this is typically what the auditor would ask. Now today, his or her authority may have changed. If you go to the user management and see that what the user was authorized to do, you will find the user was authorized to do that, and that is the reason why the user could do that. In fact, this question has brought out a lot of GMP related discussion, um, because one of the things auditors are very fond of is, okay, you have done this, but did you have the power to do this when you did this?
Okay.
How do we know you had the power to do this? A digitized system makes it very clear and transparent.
Okay. Let's talk about the auditing, Ashish. in the auditing, before in the pre-audit stage, you are requested to submit documents and let's say a master file for the authority, for the GFDA, for the JAZ in Jordan or other parties that are related to the quality management system accreditation. So do we give access to the system to the GFDA? Do we have documents or file that can be downloaded to a CD or to a flash, and then we submit it to the authority? What's the model?
We haven't done that. I will be with you. We haven't done that. We have a what you call a user called the auditor. Okay. The auditor has access, but the auditor is again a temporary access role that you give to the auditor. Okay, who can go and do, let's say, for instance, check the version control, check the change management, do the audit trail, and the stuff like that. Okay, but if you have particular files to be downloaded and sent, no, it's as of now, it's not there. I have to actually know what you intend to do. It's not that something we have not done before, okay? But I need to know specifically what you need to do here to send it uh, in order to do that.
Okay. We have a question from Muhammad Nader. Can we set a timeline for each process of SOP control? Timeline for review, approval, authorization, the whole stuff, process.
You can make a timeline, yes, because there are, see, whenever a new SOP is coming up or a review is coming up, you actually give target dates.
Okay.
A target date is not essentially the effective date. Okay, so yes, you give the timeline internally. So all the people in the process, they know what is the target date. The author knows it, the reviewers know it, the approver knows it, the trainer knows it. The four most important people who have to act on that SOP, they know the target date. Yeah, they know the and they get in fact alerts if things are not happening either at their end or before it comes to them. Yeah.
If we have different type of accreditation, like if the lab have, let's say, ISO 17500 and want to have another ISO number for another core, can both SOPs inserted on a same system, or each one have to be in separate system?
No, it is the same system because we have done this with the US FDA, we have done this with UK, and we have done this with EU. At least the three international systems that are there. I have not done with the only other major system is the Japanese system. I forget what they call ICH or I forget what is that called. But US, UK, Europe, all the three, whatever is their demand are being met by this system. Whatever their, yeah.
Okay. We have a question. Does any change in document will be clear for all user, even if we print it?
Come again, I didn't get it.
If any change in the document will be clear out for the users after printing.
If any document will be cleared out after printing.
Hmm.
I didn't get it. Can you give an example?
I guess what Safa means that if any change in the SOP or in the document have done in the system on printing, it will shows this. Is it?
Okay. Okay. Let me take the case. Let me see if I understand this. Okay. You have an SOP. Okay.
Hmm.
Right. Say version 2, let's say. Okay. Now you have taken printout of version 2. You want to make some changes in the SOP document. Am I right?
I guess yes. I guess this
Okay.
what
Okay. Now any change in the SOP has to come as a review of the SOP.
Mhm.
Okay. So the review process kicks in the SOP. Okay. And if the change is being made in the review, it has to come out as version 3. Mind you, the printed copy was version 2, right? So as soon as you make version 3 effective, the system asks you to withdraw all version 2, okay,
Okay.
before you give them version 3. Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
So effectively, if you have a printed copy, okay, no change can be made in the digital copy. If changes are being made in the digital copy before they become effective SOP versions, your printed copy have to be destroyed. So the system ensures both ways.
let's talk about the accreditation worldwide. If a company in Jordan
Mm.
wanna export their products, their portfolio to Europe, and they want
Okay.
to accredit the manufacturing site.
Mm-hmm.
So before inspection, they request usually there will be a documents to be submitted.
Uh-huh.
So how this system will help in this process?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The system will help in this process where you don't give the entire validation document, that is usually not given. But when you state that you have a completely digitized SOP system which is validated, and you would be able to provide the validation when the validation comes, okay, that definitely is a very strong point for acquisition. And one of the reason I see that digitization is happening faster is because the accrediting authorities uh, uh, are asking for it.
So what we submit is a soft copy, or what we submit to the authority is a soft copy, part of the system, part of the
Uh,
software.
no, you
They, they,
can't say
they should
the
have the software
software is not available.
to be able to access it or to read it.
No, you would be able to give there would be what you call in our deliverable, there is something which is called the executive summary of
Okay.
the system.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and the basic features. Okay, and you can give only part of the validation, a small part of the validation documentation as example.
Okay.
So
And
I know,
in the
okay, this
auditing,
is how it is
in the auditing,
validated.
how this software can help. The inspectors or the authority will go
Mhm.
to the factory or to the manufacturing site. So
Yes.
they will sit facing the laptops or the
Mm.
computer of the system and start
Mhm.
checking how actually the process of auditing happened.
Right. Right. See, the auditor mainly does the physical check and the data and the things, the electronic thing related to that physical thing. Okay. So let's say, for instance, uh, there is a pulverizer. Somebody is using a pulverizer, and he goes to the pulverizer and then comes back to the SOP for the pulverizer. Okay. So now you can show the SOP on the system. Now, if he wants to see, for instance, we have created, that is the reason we have created in the user something called an auditor. So uh, you have you give power to that auditor to go to the system. Mind you, the auditor cannot change anything. The auditor has only viewing rights. He does not have any other rights. Okay. But he can go into different systems. So he goes, for instance, into change control and see what are the change control that has happened between this and this date, for instance, or for these kind of SOPs, for instance, if there has been authorized, unauthorized attempts to this, what are the data integrity options that are there? Okay, for this pulverizer, I want to go to the A section, your training section, and see when the training happened. Okay, for whom
Okay.
the training has happened. So all these things he can do, go as temporarily authorized to do as an auditor.
Okay.
Got
Okay.
the point? Yeah. So he
Yeah.
can run an audit trail, for instance. Yeah.
Mhm. Good.
Yeah.
We have a question about the reporting and their reports option.
Yes. Yes. So basically, you have standard reports, but in SOP, most of the reports are dynamic reports. So we have a very flexible reporting system. Let's say, for instance, you are a QA, you want to see which are the SOPs which are going to expire in the next 6 months. Okay. So you go to the SOP, you just select the expiry date, select the expiry date, give the list. Okay. So these are all largely because it is more a controlling software, assigning and controlling software. Most of the reports are very dynamic in nature. You create your report, okay, depending on what you want, and because you want so many different things in so many different times, you have certain standard reports which comes to you. Okay, you want, but most of the reports are very dynamic. And almost we have seen that whatever a QA wants to know relating to SOP can get. You want to know, for instance, a training schedule. Okay, which are the training schedules that is there? Okay, which are the SOPs which are coming into in the next 1 month and training has not happened? You get that report. You see, each one is a different report. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
so these reports sometimes they say you send me one monthly standard report of this. So once you do that, so when we are implementing the system, we do the standard report part. Okay.
Mhm.
The rest of all the reports, anytime you go into the system and create your own report, you want to see because suddenly something comes to your mind, you want to know, you can get it from the system.
Yes.
You don't have to rely on somebody else to give you a report.
Yeah. Does the system will change the company structure after implementing the digital SOP?
No, it will not affect the company
There will
structure.
be no difference between.
No,
Okay. Uh,
no, we are not, no, there's no interruption in the company structure. Yeah. It is based on roles and responsibilities.
yeah.
Okay. And roles and responsibilities are assigned to the user management.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any question? Is there anyone wanna discuss directly with Ashish? You are open.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I guess it's done. Thank you for your input and your efforts, Ashish. We are open. Any question, any extra details about such digital SOP system, we are welcome to provide with all attendees with such information. This webinar will be published also online and will be sent to the attendees by email so as to review it again. Thank you, Ashish, again, and Ramadan
Uh,
Kareem, as we said.
uh, Thank you so much. Ramadan Kareem to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. You too, all of you. Thank you very much. Okay.